Today I want to show you guys how to clean, correct, and ceramic coat your boat. Today's job is a 42 Viking in Orange Beach, Alabama. This customer hires us and says, whatever my boat needs, that's what I want. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna correct it today, and we're also gonna ceramic coat it.
All right guys, let's jump right into the video. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to wash this boat with a little bit of diluted degreaser. This is actually Purple Power. You can go ahead and buy it at Walmart. It's cheap, it's simple. Just brush it down. I actually washed this boat about 2 days before I shot this, so it was already relatively clean, but this step is just going to ensure that there's no dirt on it when we go ahead and buff it.
Now that we have it clean, now that it's dry, we're gonna do a test spot. Now, I've already done a test spot. I've already done this side of the boat. I've actually been managing this boat for about 2 years now, so I already know the boat. I already know the gel coat, the paint, everything. So, but you, as a detailer or as a boat owner, you may wanna do a test spot to see exactly how many steps you need. Now, I will have another video on how to do a test spot or how to achieve a test spot, so just go to that video once that's up. But for now, all I'm gonna do today is show you how to correct it and the technique of using a buffer. All right, so here we have our pads and our buffers that we're gonna use today, and let's go over them. So this first machine right here is a rotary. It's a high-powered rotary, and you're gonna see it coming up here. This is a Flex right here. It's a true polisher. This right here is a heavy cut blue wool pad, and this one is a finishing white wool pad, and this is the exact same pad. And then this one right here is the foam pad that we're gonna finish and polish with, so we make sure we do not have any swirl marks left over. We're gonna put our pad on the buffer. It's just a rotary polisher. This right here is the backing plate. It'll stick right onto it. Make sure this hole right here, this hole lines up perfectly with this hole. Put it between my legs, and then put it between your legs, and then spread this hole. That sounds really bad, but do it, and then just place it on there perfectly. Because you want to do is you want to make sure this thing spins on a perfect circle. If it's off, it's going to shake when you're buffing, and you're not going to get a consistent polish.
So this is going to be our first initial heavy cutting step out of all of our steps. So what we're doing here is we're starting off with the rotary polisher and the blue heavy cut pad, and then we're going to move to a white wool pad, which is more of a medium cut finishing pad with the same compound, and then we're going to go to 1000 grit compound with a medium cut wool pad, and then we're going to go to a foam pad on a polisher. All of these steps done in sequence will equal perfection. Now in this particular case, I'm using a heavy cut pad in order to really bite down on some oxidation on this and to really give it that perfect cut so we can really bring out that shine before we go ahead and ceramic coat it. So what you're going to notice is when I'm doing my up and down pattern and my side to side pattern, which I will be explaining here in a second, I usually only run my machine on about 1200 RPMs and then at max 1500 RPM. So look at your polisher, whichever one you may have. You can go buy a Makita, or they even sell them at Harbor Freight. You can buy a decent one at Harbor Freight. Just look at your settings and only run it at about 1200 RPMs on all of the steps.
All right, so why did you tilt the pad? The purpose of tilting it up like this, all of the heat and all of the cutting power is in one concentrated area. This is kind of controversial in the detailing world. A lot of people say keep it flat, a lot of people say curve it. I personally curve it because it lets me have a precise aim of where my pattern is going. And what I do is when I make a pattern about this big, I go ahead and cut that line dead in half every single time. And then the same, when I go up and down, I do the same thing, and then I cut that line in half every single time. You want to make almost like a checkerboard with it. Now on my very last pass, once I've done side to side, and then I go back side to side, and then up and down, and then side to side again, I like to do a fourth pass, basically keeping it flat, and then we bump it up to about the 2.5 mark, and then we just keep it flat, and that allows you to kind of finish it out real nice. You're still gonna have swirls all in it, but it allows you to kind of finish out the product. Wool pad, it shined it up already. It looks pretty good, but it's definitely cloudy. There's clouds and haze all in it. What this is from the macro mark from the pad. So I actually have my flashlight on, and we're looking dead into the surface. And as you can tell, you can't see any gloss at all because it is super scratched. That wool, that super wool, and that Super 6 compound scratches the living heck out of it. So now that it's cut with the Super 6, we're gonna go ahead and move to the same compound, but with a lighter pad. It's gonna remove the scratches from the blue pad. The white wool is gonna remove the scratches from the blue wool.
Follow up on these steps one after another. If you have different compounds than what I'm using, your steps will obviously be different. But guys, you don't have to use the same compounds I'm using. I will link them down in the description below. I do recommend it, so you can literally watch this video and follow it to the T. But you can always go get a heavy cut compound, and then make sure you always finish it up with a lighter cut compound, and then you always want to finish it up with a polish. What this does, it will give you your maximum shine, because when you use these wool pads are going to scratch the living heck out of the gel coat or paint. And what you want to do is you want to work finer and finer and finer until you get that perfect finish. So that's why it takes so many steps to get these boats looking perfect, because we go deeper, and then from there we go finer and finer and finer and finer until it is a perfect finish. Now, a lot of the times this could be overkill for you. You don't always have to do 5, 6 or 7 steps on your boat. You may just want a decent shine, and that's okay. You know, or if you're a boat owner, that's okay if you don't want to do all these steps, but make sure at least hit it with the compound with a white finishing wool pad. That'll really take out a decent amount of oxidation, and then if you hit it with that polish, it's just gonna make the shine pop. You absolutely have to do these steps before you ceramic coat.
What you're gonna notice is on this 1000 grit step, it's like you're turning the lights on. It brightens it up like crazy. This pretty much gets all of your swirls and all your deep scratches out, this step. And then we're gonna follow up with a polish step to make sure it's a perfect finish and there's no holograms or swirl marks anywhere.
So here we go again with the 1000 grit compound. This is going to be a lighter cut compound, more of a finishing compound / polish with the finishing white wool pad. It's the exact same pad we used in the previous step. Now this is technically a different pad, but it's the same style pad. Don't use the exact same pad, because the compounds on the previous step, the heavier grit, if you mix it with the newer grit, then it's gonna cut weird. You definitely want a secondary pad, but it is the same type of pad, it's just a different pad. But yeah, man, as far as doing this, it's the exact same process, side to side, up, down, side to side, and get a little creative with it, obviously, in these tighter areas. When you see my pad jump like that, basically all that is my pad is getting a little off even, or my machine is, and all you have to do is usually angle the buffer in a different way and it'll stop. You definitely don't want those speed wobbles, because it can scratch the surface.
All right, guys, we're finished with all the compounding steps with the rotary. Now we're gonna switch to the flex, and we're gonna polish all of the swirls out. But if you're a detailer or a professional, go ahead and buy yourself a flex 3401 VRG, or a Rupes Bigfoot will also do a really good job as well. Any real DA polisher, I personally like the flex a little bit better because it just adds a little more extra power to it. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with all these other DA polishers out there. So this is what we're gonna use right here, this Manzurna 400 heavy grit compound. This is actually a car compound, but it works very, very good on boats as well. On a car, it's very abrasive. It will cut. On a boat, it's more of a finishing polish. All right, so the way we're gonna do this every single time for every single section, you wanna do shoulder width apart. It's the same for the other steps. Side, side, up, down, side to side, okay? Only put about 4 tiny dots on this pad, okay? 4 tiny dots.
So you can just as easily do this with the Griot's Garage machine, the one I always recommend. I am personally here using my Flex because this was a paid customer and this was a real job. So I am using my better machine, but you can always achieve the exact same results with the Griot's Garage machine, and the link is down below for that. Just use a different pad, but the exact same product and the exact same process, side to side, up, down, side to side. And on your Griot's machine, you can run it on speed 6, go full blast.
All right, guys, we are back here at the boat. If you noticed, I've changed. The weather's a little bit nicer. It ended up raining on us yesterday when we were shooting, so we're back today. We are completely corrected. We've done 3 steps of compounding with rotaries, and then we use the Flex to finish it out perfect. It's a pretty much dang near perfect finish. Now it's time to coat it. When it comes to ceramic coating, prep is everything. It's kind of just like painting. If you don't prepare it right, your product is never going to respond correctly. So what we got to do here is we have to prep this surface. Now what you're gonna see in this video is when I wet the surface, okay? I'm wetting it right now. When I wet the surface, you're gonna see that it's still gonna water bead. So what we don't wanna see is we absolutely do not wanna see those watermarks. So the way we get that off is we're gonna start off by Dawn dishwash soap washing it. It's water beading because there's oils, there's still silicas, there's fillers from the compounds, which most compounds say there's not fillers in them, but there's always fillers in them. If it's not fillers, I don't know what the heck they put in them, but it will make your water bead. So in order to get all of those oils, all of those greases, all of those stuff off, we're gonna go ahead and wash it with Dawn. Nothing crazy here. There is other companies that make soaps. The ceramic company that we're gonna use, they actually make a soap. I'm sure it's pretty good. Dawn dishwasher soap is your cheapest option. This is something that every captain, every boat owner can go ahead and pick up. So we wanna wash it down with Dawn next.
I cannot stress how crucial this step is. Go ahead, scrub it down with Dawn. Really, really good. I actually went over this panel about 4 times with Dawn to really make sure that all those oils, all those greases were completely stripped off.
All right, so now that we got it all soaped up, I usually like to let the soap sit on there for about a minute. Also, gauge this. If you're in direct sunlight, it's gonna dry a lot faster, so you can't let it sit. Right now, currently, the sun's out of the way. We're not in direct sunlight, so I'm gonna let it sit. Just let this soap kind of sit on there for about a minute, and then we're gonna go ahead and wash it off. Nothing fancy here, just go ahead and wash it off. Okay, now we've washed it with Dawn, and let's take a look at the boat. So as you can tell, it looks shiny, but that's actually water all on the boat still, okay? That's what we want to look for. So if you can see, do you see this spot right here where the water is separating? That's where there's still oil on the boat. But for the most part, the boat, literally, the water is stuck right to it. And that's exactly what we want, all right? We want there to be no, if you see like this, if you see any water beads, that means there's still oil on there. The Dawn basically busts down about 90% of all the oils and silicones and all that good stuff. Now we'd use alcohol to finally prep the surface, but first you gotta dry it. All right, so now we're gonna prep it with alcohol. You can use wax removers, you can use, even the ceramic company has a wax remover, I believe. I just prefer to use just 91 proof rubbing alcohol. Nothing fancy here, I think it's like $2. All right, so go to the drugstore, Walmart, anywhere, grab this. There should be a link below, you can buy some on Amazon, but this stuff right here is perfectly fine. One thing you wanna do in this process, this is the last time you're gonna touch the surface before coating it. I'd recommend getting gloves if you wanna wear gloves. My biggest thing is when you're alcohol wiping it, do not touch where you wipe, because the oils from your fingers or your hands, or if you brush your shoulder up against it, it's gonna get on the surface and it's gonna mess up your coating. So make sure after you put the alcohol on it like this, that you absolutely do not ever touch or let anything touch the surface that you've already prepped.
So go ahead and wipe this whole panel down with alcohol, do it in sections, do it in small sections. And then once you have wiped it with alcohol, make sure you do not rub up against it or brush up against it. You want that surface completely stripped so that the ceramic will bind perfectly. Now that our surface is completely prepped, we're gonna go ahead and coat. This is my go-to, it's the Ceramic Company. I like their marine products because they make a 2-part coating. There's a base coat and then a top coat. And then what's cool about it is about every 4, 5, 6 months, if you come out, if you're a detailer, you can put a top coat on it. You don't have to redo it all, you just put the top coat on and it just helps rejuvenate it. Also, if you're a boat owner, obviously, once you wanna keep the ceramic up and do the best of keeping it maintained, just go ahead and get the top coat and then you can just reapply the top coat as needed. Now that we are ready to coat though, we're gonna make sure you have some latex gloves on. Make sure you have your gloves on, 1, because this stuff is toxic. It'll give you a headache if you don't use gloves, and 2, when you're putting the product on the applicator pad, you do not want the oils or sweat from your hands to get on the pad and then you're smearing around in your ceramic. Ceramic is a delicate flower. You want to make sure that you treat it with care and you don't want to get oils and sweat all in your applicator pad or in the ceramic coating process. Alrighty, so let's dive into ceramic coating. First thing you're gonna notice is I have this small microfiber applicator pad. I don't recommend these if you are doing a large portion of your boat or the entire boat, because the ceramic will absorb inside of the pad and it will start to cure over time, and you definitely do not want that. So if you're using a full boat, shoot me an email down below or a comment down below and I will give you an alternative. If you're doing small sections, this is totally fine. What you will know is I'm only putting a few drops on this pad, and then I usually do a line down the middle and then a line at the top, and then I usually work it in and do circle motions. The circle motions just really make sure that you get all of the product evenly throughout the whole surface. You can do side to side, up, down. Most manufacturers actually tell you to do that. I particularly like circle motions, but do whatever you want as long as the ceramic is on the surface. With this particular coating, you can definitely let it sit for about a minute or two, sometimes even up to 4 minutes, just basically depending on how hot the surface is.
Now we've applied it through the whole section. With this specific coating, I find the perfect time is about 4 minutes, but it's also something you have to gauge on. If it's super hot, your time's gonna be less. If it's a little bit colder weather, your time's gonna be more. So just kind of play it by ear, but to be safe, I would say wait about 4 minutes before you go ahead and level it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is gonna take our rag, our microfiber rag. You want really plush ones. I'll leave a link in the description below on these ones. These are chemical guys, they're actually pretty good. So we're gonna fold it in 4s, okay? On both rags. Do not let these rags touch your neck, okay? Or any of your arms, anywhere that's sweaty, don't let it touch it. You can put it on your shoulder, but make sure it doesn't touch your neck. You don't wanna wipe sweat into the ceramic. Have one rag as our level, our main level, and then the next rag is gonna be kind of our finesse. So we're gonna level, it's gonna be real tacky with one hand, and then the other hand, you wanna kind of smooth out what you did on that one. So you can do this, guys, with one person by any means. I have a helper here because it makes a detailer's life way easier when you're leveling ceramic if you have 2 people. But if you are a boat owner or a captain, you can definitely do this with one hand. It's just gonna take a little bit more elbow grease to get it done.
So if you notice, I usually do my left hand as my first initial takeoff, and then my right hand is kind of more of a finishing. It definitely helps if you have a partner with you doing the same thing. It just makes your life a lot easier when it comes to leveling ceramic. Leveling ceramic is a lot like leveling a light glue. It's going to feel kind of tacky on your arm, and it's going to take a little bit of elbow grease to get it off. But that's what you want. You want it to feel evenly tacky. If you feel any type of skips or jumps in it, that just means you didn't actually spread the ceramic even, or it means it's drying uneven and you're gonna have to reapply. But it actually happened to us, so you're gonna see that coming up.
When you're wiping, you'll feel like you go boom, boom, boom. It'll like feel like it's jumping. That means the ceramic is uneven, which it happens. You're on a big boat, you're in direct sunlight. All you have to do is take a little bit more ceramic on your pad, wipe it in, let it sit for about 30 seconds, and then go ahead and level it, and it's gonna help level it out. It basically reactivates the ceramic, and it helps you level it out properly.
So like I said, just put a few more drops back on your applicator pad and just go over those sections where you felt those skips. And what you should feel is that it is perfectly smooth and evenly tacky. That's what you want to feel, that it's evenly tacky.
One thing you're gonna notice when you're leveling it out, it's gonna be pretty tacky on there. It's actually a good thing. That's the uncured ceramic laying flat on there. What you don't want to feel is those skips that I was talking about. Once you go ahead and reapply it and wait a little bit, like if you waited 4 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you feel those skips, go ahead and wait about half of that, and then you should be fine. That's what we did on this boat. It dried, the sun, the surface is a little warm, probably a little bit more warmer than I intended. But hey, we make mistakes, so go ahead, let it dry on there. If anything, now you just put 2 extra coats on there. It's gonna be a little bit better. Another thing too is when it's laying flat, don't touch it with your hands. You want to let it sit. We're going to let it cure. Right now it's a pretty warm day, so we're going to let it cure for roughly about an hour, and then we're going to go ahead and do the 2.0.
So let's go ahead and get rolling with the 2.0. Exact same process. Put a few drops on your pad, do your line down the middle, do your circle motions, and just spread it evenly, and then have your partner come behind you and start leveling it. Let it sit for about a minute or 2, maybe 4 minutes, but in this case 4 minutes was actually too long because it was a little hot. Now, this particular coating is a 2-part coating. You may want to check whatever ceramic coatings you have and just go over the manufacturer recommendations as far as what they recommend you do. the Ceramic Company is a great product, but there is also other good products out there too, but they all do require different application processes. So just make sure whatever ceramic coating you are using, make sure you know the ceramic coating process for that, and then you can refer to this video, but it may not be exactly what your ceramic company process is.
Well guys, the boat is fully coated. We have completed the ceramic, we've completed the correction, the prep, and we've completed the actual coating process. I hope this video gives you a better idea of, one, the amount of work that actually goes into it when you're considering ceramic, and two, it gives you a better idea of how to apply, how to correct, and how to prep for ceramic coatings. So that's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.